Hi, this is Dina Buchanan from the Buchanan Law Firm with a couple of tips to keep in mind just in case you're ever in a car accident. These things by nature are a surprise. You can't plan for them. Most people don't walk around with a guidebook of what to do and what not to do because they are by nature unplanned. So here's a couple of things to keep in mind in case it ever happens to you. First of all, don't leave the scene of the accident. I can't stress this enough. It is so important that you stick around and figure out what really happened, what the damage really was, and assess whether you or anyone else is injured. So please stick around. Don't go anywhere. Just pull off to a safe place and start the process of exchanging information and figuring out what happened. Secondly, people make a big mistake of not reporting their accidents. If you're at an accident, it's so easy to call the police and ask them to come and take a report and assess what happened, especially if you think someone needs to be cited for the accident, and even more importantly, if someone's injured. So you definitely need to get authorities involved because their documentation is the first thing that people will ask for when trying to figure out who's who and who did what. So please call the authorities. In Albuquerque, we have this. Sometimes no one's available to come take a report at the scene, especially when there's no injuries. If that's the case, go file a station report. Ask the other person if the cars are drivable. Hey, let's go make this report, and go to the station and make the report together. If they won't cooperate, go do it yourself. Do it within the same day if you can and if you're able. So get a police report one way or another. That's so important. The next thing to do is, and this is, so many of us can be found guilty of this. We want to be heroes. We're reacting in a situation. We want to brush things off. We want to get back to our day. We don't have time for this, and we don't go to the doctor. If there is anything that you're feeling at the time of the accident or right after that is unusual for you, pain, discomfort, confusion, a headache, go to the doctor and get an assessment. The worst thing that can happen is that it takes you a little bit of time and you find out that you're fine, which is news that we all want to hear, right? I mean, that is the worst that can happen. It's so important to go to the doctor because they will take an assessment of things that later on you'll forget. They're going to ask you, where did you feel the impact? What body parts were affected? And you may not realize that a week later, when you're having pain in your arm, that you actually hit your arm into the side wall of the car during the impact. But you might have told the doctor that because it's so fresh in your memory. And we find that sometimes in medical records, and then we can tie injuries that appear over the next days and weeks to what happened in the accident. As a corollary to that, when you go to the doctor, make sure that you tell them everything that happened. Take your time, walk through what happened, walk through what was injured, what hit what. If your wrist hit the steering wheel, if you then had shoulder pain, if you hit the sidewall, if your head hit something in the accident. These are all super important things to tell your doctor because those things should be recorded in your medical records. The next thing that people often forget to do is to get information at the scene of the accident. Use your cell phone. Don't worry about pen and paper. Just get a picture of the other person's driver's license, registration, insurance, the license plate of the vehicle, and then take some pictures of the scene of the accident. This is assuming you're not too injured to do any of this. But we always want to be able to show our experts exactly how the cars were situated at the time of impact and right after, because there's a lot of that comes into play when trying to figure out what were the speeds, what were the forces at play, did someone try to steer to avoid the accident, were brakes applied. All of that we can get by showing our experts pictures of the scene of the accident. It's pretty amazing. And another thing to do is if there are witnesses, see if you can get their name and number. So obviously, if you're very injured in an accident, you are not going to be able to do these things. But if you have a friend or family member who's there with you and you're able to communicate with them, ask them just to get as much information as they can. After all of this is done, the next step to take is to contact your insurance company, whether or not you're at fault, and the other side's insurance company. This is important because you want to see if you might have MedPay benefits available, which will pay for your medical treatment relating to the accident. That's from your own insurance company. Your own insurance company also may participate in giving you a loaner car, a rental vehicle while your car's fixed, also might be involved in figuring out the property damage payout and whether the car's totaled. You want to contact the other insurance company if the other driver's at fault, because you want them to ultimately be responsible for paying for your property damage and for your medical bills and other damages. If you have any concerns through any of this, get an attorney involved who does these kinds of cases right away. An experienced attorney can really help guide you when you don't know what to do and tell you, oh, you need to contact this person or make this phone call. And your attorney's office might have some good resources to hook you up with and recommendations. So these are my top tips for if you're involved in an accident, particularly in New Mexico. Stay safe out there, and I hope this helps.